So that was quite the intro. Quite the intro.
Simo, do you know what the MTG Power 9 is?
So all I know is I'm fairly certain is that the Black Lotus is part of it, and I think there's like some sort of necklace or amulet, but I think my knowledge stops there in terms of what else are contained in these fabled Power 9 cards.
The MTG Power 9. How to describe it? In a world of back in 1993, Richard Garfield came down from the mountain and presented the Magic the Gathering set, Alpha. And then they printed another version, Beta. And then they printed the most distributed version, Unlimited. And it was then that they realized some of these cards were way too busted for human beings. Like we could not be trusted with this stuff. It was way too strong. So they released a few other expansions, and they released Revised. And when they released Revised, they cut several of these cards out of Magic the Gathering and never printed them again. And some of these cards are just so insanely powerful, 9 of them to be exact, that they've gone on to be referred to as the Power 9. Okay. They're Magic's most unavailable, hard to get cards. They're also seen as their most impactful and incredible. And today I am going to have you check out these cards. You're going to and I'm going to show you a variety of cards from Unlimited, and you are going to tell me if you think the card is in the Power 9 or not. Some will be, some won't be. Okay. And you're going to also just take a shot in the dark for me. You're going to tell me how much you think these are worth.
Oh, that's going to be the hardest part of this whole video. I'm down.
It's going to be fun. You said there was one you're familiar with, because I think everybody who has heard of Magic or looked at it in any card game really has probably heard of this at some point. So let's start you off with a totally fair, balanced, and easy evaluation. Talk to me about the Black Lotus.
Oh, look, it's the Black Lotus. I feel like if anyone knows anything about Magic, I feel like you know the Black Lotus. It's like Blue Eyes is the face of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Black Lotus is the face of Magic. It just goes without saying. I feel like the two are just synonymous. So the Black Lotus, it is a 0 mana mono artifact, not just any artifact. And it adds 3 mana of any single color of your choice to your mana pool, then is discarded. Very weird wording, but as you and I know, old cards are always worded poorly. Tapping this artifact can be played as an interrupt. So does that mean that like you can use it in response to your opponent doing something to this?
So this would all get like errated and changed because like your old cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, like they were just written very badly to go with the rules. It means you basically nothing can stop you from getting this mana.
Sure. Well, I come from a game where everything is free. So when you guys have actual resources you have to worry about, the fact this costs nothing to play, it gives you 3 mana, it basically could... I feel like anyone who would have this card would play this in any number of copies they have available to them because free is good. And especially, I can imagine even in older Magic that a card like this would maybe, I don't think it'd be more busted because the games are so old now. I imagine there's way more ways this could be abused in modern day. But even by old standards, this card would still be crazy. Being able to just get 3 mana ahead of anything just seems outrageous. Yeah, I think this card is crazy. I don't really think there's much to discuss here.
It's probably good. Do you think it's in the Power 9?
Considering when you asked me at the start of this video if I knew what it was, that was the only reference point I had, I would hope so. Otherwise, I'm going to look like a buffoon, and I gave you a great thumbnail to start with here.
Okay, I'll reveal that in a second, because... you know, a lot of these things, like if they're in the Power 9, it is tied into the price. So let's get into the price first before we mention that. How much would you say what we'll call the budget version of this card? We're going to say unlimited because that was the most printed. We're going to say moderately played. We're not saying heavy played.
How generous. How generous.
Moderately played. Oh, generosity is what this video is all about. What do you think this nice, reasonable little piece of cardboard would run you?
You're getting me back for when we did this on my channel. That's for sure. Okay.
Every card I'm going to show you today is worth more than $100.
Oh, you're
Good
so
luck.
kind. You're so kind. So I know this card has to be a fortune. Like, even if this is, you said this is unlimited, right? So help me understand something. So alpha, beta, and unlimited are all the same set, just like different print runs, technically?
Yeah, they are almost exactly the same set, and the changes are basically accidental. Like like there was a card left out of beta, famously, but it was intended to be the same set. Yeah.
Okay, understood. So I know this card's probably a fortune, just because if there's so few copies, if it is insanely powerful, like, granted, you guys don't have an eternal format, but if there is an eternal format in Magic that you would play this card,
we have something called Vintage.
Okay.
Which in Vintage there is a lot of cards are restricted, but most things, a tremendous amount of things are legal and restricted to one copy.
Okay, so that's the whale format is what you're telling me. Got it. So I have a funny story for my only real context for how much this card costs. So when I was in Japan, I was just frequenting the card shops just to see if there was anything I wanted to pick up to bring back home. And they actually had a Black Lotus. I'm not sure if it was this exact one, but I'm assuming it was real. I think it was graded, but it didn't have a very high grade. I'm pretty sure it was like damaged, but it was like maybe like a 4 or 5 rating for whatever grading company. I don't remember if it was PSA or anything. Whatever, regardless. And I remember they had like a little sticky note in the case where they were like showcasing it. I think it may have, I don't know if it was like the real version or if it was like a different version, like a proxy or something, because they didn't want the real one out, I imagine. But the sticky note extended off of like the way that it would be shown on the slab. It was going off the slab because there were so many zeros for how much yen it would cost to buy this card. And obviously yen is not dollars, but when you converted it, it just looked really funny because no other card had like this ridiculous sticky note saying the price of this card. So that was entertaining to see, but I don't even know what that would convert to, because I just remember it just being a ridiculous number of digits and a lot of zeros after it. So what do I think this is worth? And you're being nice and giving me moderate played. You're giving me the most available copy. What are the whales of Magic willing to pay for something like this? I feel like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players have deep pockets. I feel like the Magic community is even worse than we are. Man. I'm going to say, wow.
What are you thinking?
I'm easily like in the 5 digits. I don't know if I go to 6. That's what I'm wondering. Because again, my reference point of seeing all the zeros on that one in Japan, I'm thinking like, oh, well, maybe it is like in the 6 digits potentially. Because if these are so rare and especially mod play is still like, it's not chewed on, it's still like, it has character. Mod play like has character. I like to describe it that way. I have a friend who likes to only play with like moderately played cards. I think he's a sicko, but that's for a different story. I'm going to guess mod play unlimited. These print runs have to be so short if this game is this old. God, this card's older than me too, now that you mentioned it. That's crazy. Maybe unlimited print run means it's like cheaper. Like maybe it goes into 6 digits if it's like one of the super old versions, because that's still a lot of money. Okay. Unlimited mod play Black Lotus. I'm going to...
Setting the stage, buddy.
Setting the stage. I feel like you're actually starting at the top of the stage because I feel like there's no way it's going to be worse. Like, this is the crown jewel of Magic. Like, I don't know anything else that could be like perceived to be, and maybe I'm wrong, like maybe there are things that are more expensive, but I feel like this is like, if anyone is a collector, this is what they want in their collection. Even if it was like their dog chewed on it, they would still be happy to have a chewed on Black Lotus. The chewed on Black Lotus is probably worth more than like our net worth. Let's be honest. This is tough. I'm going to throw a guess out. I think this is going to be way off, and I don't know if I'm too high or too low. I'm really trying to think like what this card will be worth for like the icon of Magic the Gathering, a card that is like so rare. There are so few of them. And for the whales that are in Magic, what are they willing to pay? $75,000.
$75,000.
Yes.
Okay. I would say that's a really good like warming up of this video.
Okay.
Black Lotus is in the Power 9. You were correct about that.
I would hope so.
So that's a 1 out of 9 that you've got down.
Okay.
A Black Lotus at moderately played right now on a website can be acquired in this specific unlimited edition for $11,500.
Oh wow, I was way off. Okay.
but the range, it highlights the range. Okay. So let's get into the range a little. I'm going to be quizzing you on prices from Unlimited because it was the last time these were printed, and it's going to sound the most somewhat reasonable to kind of get a guess on because there are more of them out there, so there are more of them sold. If you were to get a beta version, which is then black bordered, and the first one you can get that is above heavily played is $27,000.
Okay, that's heavily played more too. So
that's lightly played. It's
lightly
above
played,
heavily played.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. It's the first thing I found higher than heavily played. So that moves up, significantly. It's on the way. And then you look at Alpha, right? Alpha, the very first edition distributed at Gen Con, sold out. Incredibly hard to get these Alpha packs. And now you're getting into just some of the absolute craziness. A moderately played Alpha gets up to $65,000.
Okay. I don't feel as bad knowing that I had the Alpha price. I wasn't like dead on or anything, but I feel better at least that I was close to what, I referred to it as the crown jewel of Magic, right? So if you're getting the best version, and maybe not, a PSA 10 or a near mint version of it, but at least like for the Alpha, I was kind of close. So that gives me a better sense of like the kind of scale we're working with here. Okay.
All right. Do you want to take a shot in the dark at the most expensive Black Lotus ever sold? I'll give you a hint. It was an Alpha near mint.
I think I have a bit of context for this because
it did make headlines. I wouldn't be surprised if you heard this.
It made headlines, but also when I worked on the transaction for Tyler being sold, I remember like we sort of were like kind of looking for comps for like what some of like the rarest, most expensive cards like sell for. And so I'm pretty sure, if I recall, I want to say it was like, was it like 600 or 700 grand or something like insane like that? I don't think it was like, I think it was really up there. It wasn't a mill, I don't think. But I remember it being like mid to high six figures, if I recall correctly.
So this was very recent. This This was in April 30th, 2024.
Oh, this year. Okay.
And so I think the number that you're thinking of was from the sale before this that had set the record, which was 800,000.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
That was a couple years ago. The one that sold this year, Alpha Black Lotus, $3 million.
Wow. That's insane. I mean,
it broke world. It's most expensive MTG single ever sold. Obviously,
yeah. Okay. Again, crown jewel. That is probably the nicest Black Lotus in existence. I would hope.
I mean, kind of money. The jump is insane. I hope it's the nicest Black Lotus in existence for sure. So that's where we're at, and we've got one of the Power 9 revealed here.
Okay.
So it only gets easier from here, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure, it does.
Considering I don't know them, of course.
Let's go here.
All right, Time Walk. You know, you always rag on Yu-Gi-Oh cards being illegible. What is this font on this background?
They were young. They didn't know what they were doing.
I'm just saying. It was
the 90s. It was a different time. It was a different time.
It's only fair. You rag on Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm going to rag on Magic. That's like, we're both games are guilty of this. Although, to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't changed and arguably got worse because we add more text to cards. Anyway, Time Walk, 1 in a blue. It's a sorcery. Take an extra turn after this one. I like how... So this makes sense now. You always say how Yu-Gi-Oh, like, they don't make the text bigger in the text box when there's less of it. Now I see why you say that, because this is way bigger compared to, like, the Black Lotus text, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. This is interesting because you've showed me several cards now that have some sort of like turn skipping or extra turn granting ability. So I'm assuming this is like the first card that lets you take an extra turn after this one. It's weird though to me because like I don't know, especially in like super early Magic, I'm not sure how good this is. By like modern standards, this card's probably like insane. Like paying 2 mana to skip a turn or get an extra turn just seems ridiculous. But like old Magic, I feel like just like it still might be broken. Don't get me wrong. Like you guys, like that means you get to play an extra land. That means you get to like maybe play a bigger thing quicker. I don't know like the power level of older cards versus like things that we're looking at here. It's funny
dude, lands are great, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like with how crazy Yu-Gi-Oh is, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't really have like turn skips. We have like a couple cards, not turn skips, like extra turns. Like we have a couple cards that do it, but they're like pretty situational and they're like really bad, which you would think in our game where everything goes that we would have had more of that, but I think we're still somewhat reasonable in our card design. This, I don't know. So you could be, for context, you could be showing me anything from Unlimited. So this could be a fake, just for context. Okay.
This could be a fake card? It's not a fake card.
Well, not fake card, like a card that is in Unlimited that is not in the Power 9. Let me clarify.
Oh, yes. So, just for, if I show you all the cards I want to in the amount of time we have, you will see slightly more cards that are not in the Power 9 than in the Power 9. Just to make the guessing more interesting.
Sure. So, which means I should stop yapping and start evaluating. I mean, it seems good, but like my old Magic, I think it's probably still good. It's an extra turn. It barely costs anything. It's an extra turn. Like, surely it's good. Okay, yeah, I'm going to assume it's good. I'm going to assume this is good. My instincts are telling me it's good. My Yu-Gi-Oh brain would love to be able to take an extra turn for like barely any cost. That seems pretty strong. Is this in the Power 9? I mean, like, the Black Lotus is kind of like 4 Time Walks, if you think about it, right? It's like, I get to just skip ahead for the turn by 3 mana to do whatever in, like, a weird roundabout sort of way. But, like, my reference for old Magic is the Black Lotus. I think that's what's so rough, is that I don't know, like, what else old Magic is capable of. And so, is this, like, the most egregious thing you could be doing? By today's standards, this card seems crazy. But do they call it the Power 9 because it was crazy back then, or do they call it the Power 9 because it's crazy now? Or both. I think this card will definitely set the tone for the rest of it. I think the Black Lotus is a bit of an outlier just because its fame, what it does, unless I'm just looking for cards that are equally as powerful. Man, they really had turn skipping in like the first set of this game. That's kind of crazy. Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't that bad. I'm just gonna say
they just showed right up and we're like, let's do this.
Yeah,
this seems reasonable.
I will happily be wrong. I am going to assume, based off of first creating a card game, that this effect is very good. And so I will happily be wrong. I think this is in the Power 9.
I see.
I hope.
Would you want to take a guess at the price of an unlimited time walk now that you have an idea of where Black Lotus fell?
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be more than that. There's no shot. So you said the Black Lotus was 11.5?
Yep.
Right? Okay. I think this is... Okay, so if I'm assuming this is good, if I'm assuming this is in the Power 9, then it has to be worth money. How much is this worth relative to a Black Lotus? I'm going to say probably... I think I'm going to slash the value in half. I think for a mod play, which is what you're going off of, I think half the price of I feel like 2 of these would be worth a Black Lotus in my mind. That makes sense. So I will say that this is worth 5. I'll even round down. I'll say a unlimited, moderately played time walk is $5,000.
$5,000.
Yes.
Okay. Time walk is a member of the Power 9.
Yes.
So you got that part.
Yes.
And yes, from the very beginning in Magic the Gathering, we had a spell that just let you take an extra turn. And from the very beginning in Magic, it's more busted than I think people even realize, because playing an additional land is kind of one of our only free resources.
Sure.
So getting ahead on lands is huge. The rate at 2 mana for this effect is completely insane.
Yeah. You showed me that one card,
insane.
What was it last video? I think it was like Nexus, like Time Nexus.
Nexus of Fate is 7 mana.
7. It's 7.
And it still turned out to be amazing.
Yeah.
This 2 mana. So what's my other favorite fact about Time Walk is that prior to the release of Alpha, there were playtest cards, which were literally like scribbly notes, like no art, just like that's how they tested the game before they printed the cards themselves. And some of these have surfaced. And it was on like an episode of Pawn Stars or something. They were looking at these playtest cards, and one of them was Time Walk. And
that's so
Time
cool.
Walk was 3 mana on the playtest card. They reduced the cost.
That's too good. That's too good. 3 mana. No, sorry, that's bad.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No one's going to play it.
Yeah. No one's going to play it at 3. We got to make it 2.
But at 2 mana in particular, I have had the pleasure of casting Time Walk, being able to attack, being able to cast some really powerful shit, and then being able to Time Walk and do even more. And then, as you saw in Nexus of Fate, you might remember, it got shuffled back into your deck afterwards.
Yeah.
That's important because the graveyard, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, is a second hand. This doesn't exile. This doesn't shuffle back in. It goes to the graveyard.
Duplicate it or like get it back or...
Yeah.
Very
over
usable.
and over. Oh, yeah. 100%. And an unlimited, moderately played Time Walk will cost you, as of the time of this video, $2,695.
Wow. A lot less than I was thinking. Okay.
I thought you might get there. You were like, a Black Lotus is like 3 of these. I'm like, well, if he uses that logic, he might get there.
I guess the premium on the Black Lotus must just be like that much higher. So, okay. I still think that's like a fair price. I don't think that's low or anything. That's still expensive, but I don't know.
It's a chunk, but it's a hell of a card. It's an amazing card. All right. I've got another one for you.
Channel. Okay. 2 green. This is some freaky art. That's trippy. It's a sorcery. Until end of turn, you may add colorless mana to your mana pool at a cost of 1 life per point of mana. Excuse me. These additions are played with the speed of an interrupt. You might have to clarify that for me. And then,
yep. Basically, you make the manas, and nobody can stop you from making the mana once this resolves.
Okay, interesting. Effects that prevent or redirect damage may not be used to counter this loss of life. Interesting. So that's just saying that you can't do anything to like You can't like find some cheesy way to like get out of paying the cost, essentially. Is that what that means?
Yep. If they wrote channel today, they would say pay 1 life, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. You may do this as much as you want until end of turn.
You may add colorless mana to your mana pool at a cost of 1 life point per mana. So a couple things are going through my mind here. This seems crazy just because, again, you have a game that revolves around mana. And being able to cheat that mana into play, if you're able to go like turn 2 channel, then have typically a lot of stuff in Magic does require colors and stuff. But if you have a Black Lotus, because if this is out at the same time as Black Lotus, it doesn't matter because you could play the Lotus to get the colored mana you need to like fix that. But my point is, you could hypothetically just pay, 8, 10, 12 life, get a metric ton of free mana. I don't want to say free, but the last life point's the one that matters, right? So you get a bunch of free mana, and then let's say you got like a Lotus, then you can, filter to get like the right color of mana that you need for like some like big payoff guy or multiple guys. And again, I don't really know the context of like other old cards. By like old Magic standards, like that seems pretty good. Now, like compared to something like Black Lotus, the problem is channel requires you to be in green specifically, where the Lotus is generic. And I think if the Lotus wasn't generic, that would be a huge hit to how good that card is. So you're specifically in green. But if I recall, I think Magic wants to play big stuff in green. So that's kind of like maybe where this card is going. And plus you could just splash other colors. It's not like you have to be stuck in green. You just need the double green to start out. I don't know. That seems really good. I think the biggest downside for me, where I'm not like, whoa, like this is crazy, is that
still have you?
Yeah, you still have me.
Okay. What's the big downside? What is it?
I'm trying to evaluate this like as I'm talking. The biggest downside, this may sound stupid. The biggest downside is that it seems like too much text. Like some of the like craziest cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have like the least amount of text out of all the old cards. And like over time, those have like proven to be like some of the best cards in the game because they're so simple, because they don't have restrictions. They just are a very like powerful effect, in their own right. You only get to do this once with channel. It's not like it stays out on the field, but like, is that fine? Are you going to like channel, pay 10, do your big thing, and then like you win the game as a result of it? It's hard to say. You could pay to help get your turn skip mana potentially, and then you turn skip them, and then you like, I don't know. You also have summoning sickness, right? So like summoning sickness is crazy because it's like with Time Walk, it like effectively gives all your stuff haste, but like with this, it's like you still have to wait. So unless there's like some broken gimmicky combo, like for old Magic, I doubt that exists, but maybe it does. But you get so much, but it's color. I feel like if it wasn't colorless, this card would be insane, and everyone would be playing this. And maybe you still play this. Maybe I'm wrong. But the fact it's colorless, I think, is a limiting factor for sure, because so many cards require at least one colored mana. So, like technically speaking, you're limited by the amount of lands that you have. But you get to add any amount. That's so good. I'm torn. I think my gut's telling me this isn't in the Power 9. So I think I'm going to go with that. I think if this was any color, this card would be way better. And I also think like my assessment of there's too much text on this card is why this card is also not in the Power 9. I don't know. This just seems like too many words. This seems like because like Time Walk is 7 words. It's take an extra turn after this one. That's it. Like the Lotus does have some text. I get that. But this seems like too much text for me. I don't know. It's dumb. It may sound stupid. I just think it's too much text for a card that would be considered in this classification of cards. So I don't think it's in the Power 9. Final answer.
Okay. It's not in the Power 9 is your answer. Now, what do you think an unlimited copy of Channel is worth?
So this is weird because it's like, if I don't think it's in the Power 9, but it's still an unlimited card, it probably is also still just very hard to get, so collectors probably still want it. I could see the art appealing to a certain type of person. The card could still be very good, and I could just be completely wrong. It's probably... Okay, if it's not in the Power 9, it's probably... Is it going to break 4 figures if it's not in the Power 9? You said Time Walk was like 2,700.
Yep.
Is this card worth that? I don't know, man. All right, here's complete shot in the dark. I don't think, if I'm assuming I'm correct that this is not in the Power 9, I am going to take a shot in the dark. I don't think it breaks 4 figures. I think this card, Unlimited Mod Play, is probably like Unlimited. It's like an okay effect. Let's go $250.
$2.50?
No. $250.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking. All right. Not in the Power 9.
$2.50.
Not in the Power 9. $2. 200 and so those are your final answers. Not in the Power 9 and $250.
Yes. I think these old cards do have a market, but I could be way off.
Channel is one of the more banned cards of all time.
Oh, God.
Channel has been banned in so many formats, and from the very beginning was a very exciting card because people learned that when you combine this with a spell that says deal as much damage as you have mana to a target, Channel plus that spell was just 2-card OTK, you're dead.
There's the combo.
Yep, possible to be done on turn 1 with cards only from the original set in Magic, which is why Channel is one of the most banned cards ever. It's been banned in so many formats and banned year after year. And part of the reason for that is because it was actually reprinted.
Oh!
Which means it's not in the Power 9.
Okay.
Now we get to the part that may get controversial. You see, I may have made a joke earlier about every card being over $100.
Oh, God.
And it appears, and I promise I will never do this again, it appears I lied to you.
You would never do such a thing. You would
It
never
wasn't
do such
intentional. It wasn't intentional. This was the last minute addition to my little playbook here, and I had no idea.
I'm gonna remember this.
I had personally assumed that an unlimited channel, there's no way it would be this. But did you know that right now it is possible to order an unlimited copy of Channel for $5.75?
Maybe I should have said $2.50.
That's why I was like, no way.
Well, maybe if you hadn't lied to me, I would have maybe thought that.
I do apologize for that.
I
apologize for that.
I wasn't going to get that anyway. I figured this old... Like, I still think this card's, like... I didn't think this card's bad. Like, it seems okay, but, like, in that same, like, echelon of some of the other ones, I don't know. And plus, I didn't have the context of, like, being able to do the OTK and everything. Like, that's really cool. But I never would have guessed that this is only $5. No shot I would have guessed that. That's actually kind of crazy.
I'm kind of mind blown myself. It did get reprinted. It has been printed a few times since. I have no idea how this survived. This is one of the most unhealthy cards that then nobody ever got to play. What a waste of a spot in a pack. But yeah, they were like, you know what? We pushed that through to the next level. And that is also something to learn about these old cards. They cut out a bunch of cards that they thought were too broken for the game. They also kept some busted stuff that they didn't fully understand yet. So pretty wild. All right. Let's go with, let's do this one.
Wow. We can't make fun of your price guessing on my channel because I think I've topped you and it's not even close. Okay, Armageddon, cool artwork. 3 and a white. The white mana symbol looks so different on old cards. It's a sorcery. All lands in play are destroyed. Well, I did talk about cards with less text on them being possibly the power 9. This card has 6 words on it. It's even less than Time Walk. This card seems miserable. Like, why would they print this? Like, this, I don't even really know how to, like, evaluate this from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective. The cards are the resource. So the equivalent to this would be both players discard their hands, essentially. And then you're just both top decking. Great, fun, cool. This, why would they make this? This doesn't even seem fun. This seems miserable.
Remember, this is the very first set of Magic the Gathering here.
I know.
From the beginning.
That's what I mean. It's like, you have Time Walk, which arguably might not be fun either, but like at least it lets you play the game. This just makes it that, oh, we're just going to reset everything. And sure, it doesn't really affect the board because it's just, well, it affects the board in the sense it affects the lands, but I meant more so like creatures or anything like that are out. This is awful. This is like, come play our game so your friend can destroy all your lands and you just can't play the game anymore. That's how I see this working, right? You set up your board and then you Armageddon and then they have nothing and now they can't play the game because they have to start setting up lands all over again. And if they don't have any lands, then they just lose the game immediately. That blows. That's horrible.
Pretty horrible.
Is that power 9 horrible, though? It does not have a lot of text. It doesn't have a lot of text. It's so tough because my context for power 9 is a turn skip and a thing that gives you 1,000,000 mana. So the only things that I've seen so far are things that just let you do more things, where this does the opposite. If this was in the power 9, I could see why this is in the power 9. And I would hope this card never got reprinted, because that just seems like agony. I'm going to go out on a limb. And I hope for the sake of your game, I'm wrong. I think this is in the power 9. And I hope I'm right just because I think this is the most miserable card I've probably ever read in Magic. Out of everything you've showed me, this seems like one of the worst things imaginable. Even though it costs 4, it doesn't matter when you have a Lotus. You could do this on like turn, not that you'd want to do this on turn 1, but point being is like the mana cost here is basically irrelevant. You just need to have a way to get to white, which you can if you have a Lotus, so it doesn't matter. I think the ability just to set up a board and then nuke all the lands and your opponent just has 0 counterplay to that, essentially, unless there like were still counter spells back then, which I don't even know if there were. That just seems absolutely miserable. That seems awful. So I for the sake of your game, I'm going to hope that this is in the power 9. And that is where I stand on that.
And what do you think someone would pay for it?
Okay. Do I think this is worth more than Time Walk? I'm going to say no, because I think Time Walk is still the better card. Typically, cards that let you do more things are better than cards that stop your opponent from doing things. The Time Walk, I believe, was like 2,700. If I think this is power 9, it's probably up there. I still think Time Walk is better. Maybe like, I'm thinking like high hundreds, low 1,000 range. Like maybe $1,000. I don't know, like if all the rest of the power 9 are kind of around Time Walk, or if, you know, the better ones are more. I think Time Walk is better than this card. But maybe like a little bit under. It's unlimited too. Yeah, we can go a bit lower. I'm going to say, based off that assessment, I'm going to go like $750.
All right. You can get an unlimited copy of Armageddon.
Okay.
Near mint, actually.
Oh God.
For $125.
That does not bode well for this.
Because
I'm wrong.
Armageddon is not in the Power 9.
Why would they keep printing this card?
For the sake of the game, Armageddon, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's true. It's so true. Armageddon, one of the most miserable, toxic, horrible cards. That was a very popular strategy in the very first Pro Tour. From the very beginning, got reprinted into Revised, and then reprinted into 4th edition, which is the set after Revised. There are like over 20 printings of Armageddon.
Some masochist made this card and like decided to keep having it printed. Like how?
It was printed in 6th edition. That's getting like, what year was 6th edition? 1999? Like
That's
we
insane.
spent the first decade of Magic playing this card. Just, this is fine. What's wrong with getting all your lands taken away from you?
How is that fine? Please explain to me how that's fine.
I can't explain how that's fine.
Okay.
And it is one of the in the format of Commander where it is legal. You know, everything is Commander is an eternal format. It is one of the most taboo cards in the format because people, if you just cast this out of nowhere, people will hate you.
I wonder why.
It is definitely considered one of the most toxic cards of all time, and it was there from the very beginning, but it is not in the Power
incredible.
9.
So you know how in our video we did where you were just astonished at Trap Dust Shoot and how I explained to you that the hand is like sacred in Yu-Gi-Oh? I feel like this is the equivalent of me showing you that, and I just don't understand like how this is. I can understand if there's like a card that says destroy a land, which there probably is if they have destroy all lands. That seems annoying, but at least it's one. The fact it's all lands, that's just so obnoxious. That's disgusting. I don't know why. Like who designed this and is like, oh yeah, this will be a fun way to get people to play the game. That's agony. That's true agony. If this happened to me the first time I play, I would never touch this game again.
Paging Richard Garfield,
Yeah.
PhD. Oh my goodness. All right, let's continue. Let's continue with another nice card here.
You're thoroughly enjoying this, aren't you?
Oh, this is great. This is great.
All right, Demonic Tutor, cool art. 1 and a black. Side note, I like how the old, because like I haven't seen like a lot of old Magic cards. I like how the black cards have like this like bubbly swamp element to them, where like newer ones are just like more black. I don't know, like the tar bubble kind of looks fun on these old cards. Anyway, 1 and a black, it's a sorcery. You may search your library for 1 card and take it into your hand. That's worded really poorly. Reshuffle your library afterwards. That's insane. So like for context, Yu-Gi-Oh is a game. We've sort of talked about this in the videos we've done on my channel, but Yu-Gi-Oh is a game that there are a lot of searchers, or as you would call them, tutors, for like cards to get you cards to get you cards. And if you recall, in Yu-Gi-Oh, everything's free, right? Every deck or every archetype has these types of cards to get to other cards into the deck or archetype to just sort of add to the consistency of the game. It is crazy for me to say this, but Yu-Gi-Oh just does not have a card that says take any card from your deck and add it to your hand. Like any card. The closest equivalent we have to this, I think, is probably a card called Gold Sarcophagus. Gold Sarcophagus says exile any card from your deck for 2 turns and then add it to your hand. That is the closest I think we have to this card. And that's insane. Like this card in Yu-Gi-Oh would be unbelievable. Which is crazy. That's awesome. Now, again, I'm starting to get like a grasp on the power level of this older Magic, sort of, I guess. And it just seemed like they did whatever they wanted. They let you turn skip. They let you take any card from your deck and add it to your hand. You can search a Lotus. That's insane. It only costs 2. That's wild to me. Like, it does have a cost, sure, but, like, that's nothing in the grand scheme of things. A Lotus pays for 2/3 of it, so, like, technically, it's free. I think Lotus is going to ruin my whole perception of everything in this video. This card's cracked. This is a really good card. Even though it costs 2, I still think this is insane. Do I think it's in the Power 9? This feels more like a Time Walk card to me. This feels more like it could be in that class of card. It doesn't turn skip, but, well, let me think about this, actually. The biggest difference is, I think, for your game, is you don't necessarily get to immediately play the card. I think that's why in Yu-Gi-Oh! It would be so broken, is because in Yu-Gi-Oh! You could basically take any card from your deck and then immediately do what you wanted with it. Which is why all of our tutors have restrictions in terms of like what they're able to get. Whether it's like has like a certain number of defense, or it's a certain level, or it's like of a certain archetype or something like that. Where in your game, you search the card. If it's in the early game, you might not. I mean, you can get a Lotus, which is kind of crazy. But aside, taking the Lotus out of it, because I feel like similar to like Pot of Greed distorting your perception of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like Lotus is going to distort mine. I feel like you're only going to be able to like really play with the card you search if it's like in the mid to late stages of the game. Because hypothetically, okay, it's turn 4 or 5. You Demonic Tutor for Time Walk. You Time Walk, and then what? You get to go again? Like, okay, that seems pretty good. But, like, you didn't really do anything that turn. Like, you didn't really develop your board at all. And, like, from my understanding, developing the board in Magic is, like, you know, you guys, like, tempo is actually, like, an important concept in your game, where Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't really exist. I want to say, this is going to sound funny. I feel like if this was Yu-Gi-Oh!, this would be, like, in Yu-Gi-Oh!'s Power 9. But because it's in your game, I actually don't think it is. I actually think this is, like, not good enough. I think now that I've learned, like, with Armageddon and, like, looking at some of these other cards, if Channel also, like, wasn't, you know, in that category, which I didn't really think it was either, I will happily be wrong. I will happily be wrong, but I don't think it's there. I think this card's insane. I think it's really good. I don't think, based off like the caliber of card that we're dealing with, I think it's really close, but I don't think it's there. Just because you guys have mana, I don't think it's there. So I'm going to say that this is not in the Power 9.
Okay, then how much do you think it sells for?
If I don't think it's in the Power 9, the price of things that are not in the Power 9 is extremely low. From what I have understood. I thought it'd be more. It seems like it's quite low. If you're not messing with me, this should be at least $100 still. This card is still pretty good. I could see people wanting the OG like copy of this card. Mod play is what we're working with. I could see this being like 150, 200. Maybe like, I think it's at least 100, obviously, because you said it should be. I'll go with like, let's split the difference. 175. I'll say 175. Yeah, it's mod play too, so I think that hurts how much it'll be.
Oh, man. Demonic Tutor. No. It's pretty good evaluation. Demonic Tutor is absolutely insane, but at the time, the difference is that, yeah, you have to pay the cost for the thing that you fetch, and it was reprinted afterwards, so it is not in the Power 9. I think it was kind of underestimated in a weird way of how good it was. And this is where they're really going to hate me, because, you know, just to fit my narrative, I found a near mint copy for $99.99.
You're so messed up.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought that these were worth more. I think that something like happened to the unlimited market since the last time I made one of these. Hopefully. So it says my market price says 101. Okay. I don't know, man. I feel like I feel crazy. Oh, it says right here the last sold one was exactly $100. I think I'm winning.
Okay.
There we go.
That's fine. To be fair, like I could see that too. Like it's weird. Like this is a very good card, all things considered, but it's weird to sort of like evaluate the super old cards in a vacuum, because it's like I feel like a lot of the time we look at old cards and think they'd be worth way more than they are sometimes. But it's up to the market at the end of the day to determine it. So To be fair, that's maybe the closest one I've gotten, as bad as my guesses have been for this.
I'll give you good points for figuring that out. I thought you would put this in the Power 9. I really did. Like if I had to gamble, I would have gambled on it. Yeah, you did a good evaluation here on our friend DT, the demonic tutor.
Is that what you call him? DT?
Oh yeah. Okay. DT.
I got to stay hip with the kids. So good.
Yeah, it's my boy DT right there.
What is this art? Okay. Time Vault. Again, I'm not saying anything. That's like illegible. But anyway.
Poor boy.
It costs 2.
Poor boy.
Cost 2. Mono artifact again. Tap to gain an additional turn after the current one. Time Vault doesn't untap normally during untap phase. To untap it, you must skip a turn. Time Vault begins tapped. Okay, hold on. I got to start this over again. Okay, so tap to gain an additional turn after the current one. Okay, so time walks. Time Vault doesn't untap normally during untap phase. To untap it, you must skip a turn. Okay, so the difference is here, if I'm understanding this, is that it's like Time Walk, but the difference is you get your extra turn, and then Time Vault just like sits in play. And during your untap phase is like the first thing to happen, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So during your untap phase, you would decide optionally if you want to skip a turn to untap this. Is I'm understanding this right?
I think that's how that works. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
I know. I'm so helpful. The rules are funny with this card.
Okay, and then the last part, it says Time Vault begins tapped. So does this come into play tapped?
Yes. It begins tapped. Yep, comes into play tapped, yes.
I feel like they would put that at the top of the card so you know that when you play it instead of the bottom. But I'm not here to judge their structuring of cards. Anyway.
Do you want to hear the 2024 text of Time Vault?
I'm good. I don't want to depth my perception any further than I already am.
Okay.
I feel like I'm having to relearn how to reading this card. This is like one of the most poorly worded cards I've ever seen. Okay, so comparing this to Time Walk, let me think about this. So you pay 2 mana, this comes into play tapped. You have to skip a turn to untap this, and then you can tap this to get an extra turn. And it stays. So hypothetically, you could do that again in the future. I think I'm understanding that correctly. If I'm wrong, so be it.
Yep. As long as you're down to surrender a turn in the future, yeah.
But the thing is, I know that I imagine your game has stuff to untap other stuff. That is besides like by mechanics of it doing it at the beginning of the turn. Like there has to be things that untap things. Like surely.
What?
If you have a card that searches any card in your deck, surely you have stuff that untaps stuff. So I feel like the gimmick here with this is you play this in tapped, and then there's some stupid combo piece, kind of like what you were talking about with Channel. There's like some stupid combo piece where you can untap it, and then you can tap it to get your extra turn, and then since you have an extra turn, you get to like untap it again, and then you just get like infinite turns. Which is way more broken than Time Walk in that context, if you could pull off that combo. And if Time Walk is in the Power 9, I feel like this has to be in the Power 9. Because this is better Time Walk if you can do that combo. So I'm going to say this is in the Power 9.
Okay.
This is some freaky art, though. I want that guy's robe.
So moving from here, what I'm going to do now that we've had some context is I am going to tell you whether or not it's Power 9, then I'm going to let you guess price.
Okay.
Because obviously that has such a big influence on how you price guess, right?
And then I could be even more wrong.
Exactly.
Time
Vault is not in the Power 9.
Really?
Really?
That's crazy.
This
card seems so abusable.
This card is busted in half. This card is stupid. So back in the original set and with the expansions that were printed shortly after it, the only way to do what you're talking about with untapping Time Vault and taking endless turns was you could turn it into a creature, with a card called Titania's Song, and then you could put or Animate Artifact. That was it, Animate Artifact.
Okay.
And that was an enchantment you would put on it to turn it into a creature. And then you would use a card called Instill Energy to untap. That was an enchantment aura you put on a creature. It could only enchant a creature. That would let a creature untap once a turn. And that was the Infinite Turns Time Vault combo. So in the very, very small world of early Magic, it was a 3-card combo and not considered as abusable or busted. Still, although not considered in the Power 9, they didn't reprint it.
Interesting.
They chose not to reprint it anyway. And it's a good thing they didn't, because a little card would come along before the 90s were out, a card came along called Voltaic Key that untaps target artifact, along with a few other things that did that. So Time Vault is one of the most banned cards in Magic. It is not legal in like any Eternal format at all. It is banned in everything but Legacy, where it's restricted to 1 copy. But Commander, every other format, banned.
That's crazy. How is it legal in one format at all? That's like, is this like the best thing you could be doing in that format, out of curiosity?
Yes, it is.
Of course it is.
It is definitely one of the best things. Yes. Vintage. In Vintage, it is legal, and it is always, Time Vault comboing has always been one of the better things to do. If you play Vintage in 2024, leave me a comment. Is Time Vault still the best thing you can be doing?
Wild.
Every now and then, some of my favorite content creators make a Commander gameplay with no ban list, and there's so often it comes down to Time Vault combo. It's like, oh my god, every time.
This is dumb. This is so dumb.
It's a very dumb card. But how much would people pay for said dumb, very banned, never reprinted card?
So much for my theory about, cards having all this text. Okay, so the weird part about this, though, is that it is playable in a format, and I feel like I don't know if that format's played like actually competitively for, any stakes or anything, but if it is,
not really.
Okay. Because that would make it demand a huge price, but it's also
again,
just like,
leave me a comment if you're playing competitive Vintage in 2024. I don't even know where one of these tournaments would be.
So it hasn't been reprinted though, but it's not in the Power 9, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. The fact it hasn't been reprinted, I think, is going to significantly affect the price of this. But is it like... I don't think it's 4 figures. I want to say... like mod play... hasn't been reprinted. Like... $400. Why not?
Okay. Moderately played, $899.
Whoa, wow. Okay.
Yep. And $4.99 shipping
really mattered. Yeah.
Yes. You're gonna and we will discuss that before you guess for each one going forward. But yes, you're gonna see the reprints, whether or not a card has been reprinted. It seems to be a major driving factor on these suckers.
Okay.
Yep. And do you know what the reserve list is? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I believe, I might not have like the textbook definition, but it's like, isn't it cards that they said they're never going to reprint, but it's just like this arbitrary decision they've made? Something like that? It's
basically a promise to the player base that these are cards that will not be reprinted.
Right.
Yep. So members of the reserve list will command a price because they were never reprinted, and there's a promise from a company that they will not be reprinted.
And so Time Vault's one of those. The reserve list is what you're getting at.
A lot of the rares from this period that were not reprinted are on the reserve list.
How do you tell if this is a rare? There's like no symbol or anything.
Yep, you just had to read magazines back in the day. Yeah, I know. Amazing. Really very helpful, yes. We didn't even have good internet sites.
That's funny. Time Twister, great. What they were obsessed with time, weren't they?
Dude,
back in early Magic.
Richard Garfield was into time.
Time Twister. It's 2 and a blue. Okay, so it's a little bit more expensive than Time Walk and has many more words. Sorcery. Set Time Twister aside in a new graveyard pile. Man, I love old card text. Shuffle your hand, library, and graveyard together into a new library and draw a new hand of 7 cards, leaving all cards in play where they are. Opponent must do the same. So, if I'm understanding this right, you play this. This doesn't go anywhere. It's kind of just like in the ether for a moment. Everything in the hand, library, and graveyard gets shuffled into a deck, but everything on the field stays. And then you make a new deck, draw 7 cards, but then Time Twister now leaves ether and goes into the graveyard, correct?
Yeah, sounds like it explained itself perfectly to me.
Okay. So
yeah, you got it.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a card like this. It's not exactly the same. It's called Fiber Jar. Fiber Jar is a flip effect monster that basically does this, but there's some key differences. So the first thing is that Fiber Jar affects everything except the banish pile. So like the exiled zone. So it affects the hand, the graveyard, and the field.
Oh my God.
Notably, Fiber Jar also shuffles itself back into the deck as well. It doesn't go into the ether and then the graveyard after it resolves. It shuffles itself back too. So hypothetically, you could keep Fiber Jarring, multiple times in a game if you keep seeing it. So we actually have a card like this. It's a monster and it's a flip effect, so it's a bit slow, where you could just play this as a sorcery for 3 mana. So it is a little bit different. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, that card's actually banned. And has been banned. It's actually still banned to this day. I don't think it's necessarily banned because it was good. Maybe like an older Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like okay. It was kind of like a way if you were behind to reset the board and kind of give you a chance to like play again. But I think it's more so banned just because it's a headache to have to like pick up all your cards and like start a new game. I think just like playing that way is not something that the designers really want people doing. So it's been banned for a very long time. So if that's banned, this card could also be in that same line. It's so weird it doesn't affect the board. It's just like your hand, library, and graveyard. But the thing is, this card lets you draw 7 cards. And I feel like in any game, drawing 7 cards is broken. I feel like even in Magic, drawing 7 cards is probably broken, even though your game is pretty different compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially considering you could have no hand. Like, Time Twister is the only card in your hand, right? You go activate Time Twister, shuffle everything back, and you just get to +6. And maybe your opponent gets to get a card or 2 out of it too. Who cares? You got 6 cards. That might give you some lands. That might give you some things to work with. If this card's at multiple copies, then you could like do it again later on. This seems really good. If Fiber Jar were a spell, like Fiber Jar's already banned as a monster. If Fiber Jar were a spell, it'd be even crazier than it already is. The caliber of cards that we're dealing with. Time Vault wasn't though. Like that's so annoying that you put that first.
Yeah.
Surely you wouldn't do that twice. It's Lotus, Time Walk. I have not seen another card of the Power 9 yet. It's just been those 2. You've literally shown me 4 duds in a row. Okay. Surely the 5th card also isn't on the reserve list. I think this is reserve list. This seems really good. I thought Time Vault was crazy and that one. If you say this card's not on there, I will be in disbelief. This card just everything I know about Fiber Jar just carries over to this card. I think this card's really good. So I will say it's really good. I will say it's on the reserve list. Or not the reserve. I'm sorry. Power 9. Power 9.
No, you're doing great. It's on the Power 9 and it's on the reserve list. You're absolutely killing it. Good job. Yeah, this is one that is one of the more it's one of the more controversial ones because you did a really good job. You identified immediately getting 7 cards is busted. Getting 7 cards for 3 mana is busted.
Yeah.
But a lot of people see this as like a symmetrical effect, right? Because everybody else gets it. So they don't see it in the same way that they see other members of the Power 9. Sure. Some people don't. They question why this and not Time Vault, which they see as the thing that ends more games, But Time Twister is very much a Power 9 card. And it's the only Power 9 card that is legal in Commander.
Oh.
The current most popular played Eternal format for Magic the Gathering. Most popular format, period.
Because you have to shuffle your giant deck then if you're playing this in Commander.
I think you have to play some Commander so that you can see the delight on people's faces when they all get to draw a new 7 cards.
Oh. Well, first it's going to be a collective groan because they all have to shuffle like a 100 card deck, right? And then they're going to be like, hey, we all get to draw 7 though, right? So it's both sides of the spectrum.
Some of us are good at shuffling, okay, and we like it, okay? It's our little, it's our comfort, all right? But knowing that this is the only one that's legal in Commander, what would you pay for an unlimited Power 9 Time Twister, moderately played?
I feel like the Commander players they have an insatiable appetite for stuff like this. It's like the people who play the Eternal formats and then probably Commander players, because I feel like Commander players are unhinged when it comes to this. Okay, it's Power 9. It's reserve list, which means they haven't reprinted it. Is it better than Time Walk? Well, the difference is with Time Walk, this is actually playable, though.
Yep, Time Walk is banned in Commander.
Ooh,
so is Black Lotus.
That could affect the price pretty significantly then. I feel like that has to make this card money. I feel like for people wanting the juicy... Well, this is unlimited, though. This isn't like the first... Because there's like an alpha Time Twister, I'm assuming, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's probably like the Grail Time Twister. I keep forgetting we're in unlimited. So like this isn't like the prize Grail set for this. I feel like the alpha version of this would probably be like 5-ish grand. So like if it's like the beta version, then maybe it's like 2,500. I'm just like going down by like half-lives. And then, so like a unlimited version would be, what, 625, 650 going by that logic? That sounds pretty good. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go 650.
$650?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would buy it from you for that price.
Oh, jeez.
Because I could resell it for something like $4,395.
For the unlimited.
Oh,
really?
if you want the Holy Grail, the lightly played Alpha Time Twister for sale, the only one I see is $15,000 that you can get that for today.
That's insane. Wow. Okay.
I think you may have. I believe you have slightly underestimated Commander players, and it's too bad the rest of the Power 9 is not legal in Commander to test that theory.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we're learning a lot today.
Absolutely. I gotta know what you think of. Do we go there next? Let's go there.
Raging River. It's 2 red. It's an enchantment, a barely legible enchantment. When you attack, non-flying defending creatures must be divided as opponent wishes between the left and right sides of the river. You then choose on which side of the river to place each attacking creature. What the hell is this card? And attacking creatures can only be blocked by flying creatures or those on the same side of the river. This is like the goofiest thing I've ever read. Non-flying defending creatures must be... Okay, you attack non-flying defending creatures. So in Magic, you block. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! So you would... must be divided as opponent wishes between left and right sides of the river. I'm like, you can't see my camera right now. I'm like putting my hands out, trying to like visualize what this looks like.
That's what I do too. Yeah.
You then choose on which side of the river to place each attacking creature. And attacking creatures can only be blocked by flying creatures or those on the same side of the river. Okay, I think I get it. This is stupid. This is like one of the dumbest cards I've ever read. I thought we had dumb cards. This is hilarious. I love that you have this like whole game within a game going on. You then choose on which side of the river to place each attacking creature. Attacking creatures can only be blocked by flying creatures or those on the same side of the river. This is goofy. This is very goofy. Okay, this is gonna sound very stupid. I just feel
Are you going
like
by the amount of text again?
No, this doesn't just feel like, if you told me that there's like a power 9 of Magic, right? And then I've seen Time Twister. I've seen Time Vault, which I feel like should be in the power 9, but whatever. You know, Time Walk, and then there's the Black Lotus. And then you show me Raging River. This just doesn't seem like it falls into that same category of card. It's just like, I would laugh if this card was in the power 9. This seems very goofy and stupid. The ability is, compared to what some of these other ones do, I just don't think it's there. This seems very mid, to be honest. So
really,
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. This just like this. No, I can't justify this. No, there's just no way. There's no way. It doesn't seem like a card in the same caliber. It really doesn't. I feel like the fact that you have to read this card like 9 times over to even understand what it does. There's no way this card can be in that caliber of card. I don't see it. It's not power 9. No way.
it is not in the power 9.
Thank God. Okay.
It is mostly being shown here because, unbelievably, a certain Hearthstone acquaintance we have thought it was. And I really wanted to see if you would too. Yeah, when I showed this to Raren, he said Raging River was power 9.
This seems like so conditional, though. Like, I can understand.
He said it was busted. Yeah. No, it reads so weird, right? It breaks the game. It breaks the game, but how?
I get what they're trying to go for, but it just seems so conditional. Like, no shot. You're telling me that this random battle trick enchantment is in the same class as a card that lets you either draw 7 or get extra turns? Like, no way. No way. Like, I power 9. This card is not power. I don't see the power here. Like, I think it's like okay.
So how much would you pay for it? Because I'll tell you first, it was not reprinted.
Well, if you're not lying to me for the 3rd time this video,
it's legal in Commander.
$100. It's legal in Commander. I could see this being like a fun card to play in Commander just because it's goofy. I don't think it's good necessarily. I just think it's like just like this fun thing you get to do. How is this over 100? It's just got to be because it's old. There's no way that there's any reason this card is. I will say it is $101. I will be generous and say it's $1 over 100.
Dear God, man. Dear God. You can get a moderately played Raging River from Unlimited for $101.74.
Yes! Yes! We did it! We got one right!
Wow!
Oh my God. I feel like I just won.
Yeah.
Dead on. That makes up for all the really poor guesses I had prior in this whole video.
What a gamer! Raging River, thank you so much for your service.
This card should be $1.01 and 74 microcents. That's what this card should be worth, but okay. Sure. I can't imagine playing a format. And deciding, or like, because you said it's legal in Commander and it hasn't been reprinted. Yeah, I'm going to spend $100 on Raging River. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I could not justify that in the slightest.
And they sign up for $4,000 Time Twister, but go on.
Yeah, anyway. Ancestral Recall. 1 blue mana, draw 3 cards, or force your opponent to draw 3 cards. Okay, so I am slightly familiar with this card. I think I've seen this card before. This is like basically your equivalent of Pot of Greed. And that seems crazy to me. I mean, just drawing cards is good. We all know drawing cards is good. I can't recall the last time I've ever seen a Magic card. Not that I've like seen many of them, but the ones I have seen, they're like either pretty mid and they're like fine, or they're broken. You know, like Time Twister territory. It seems like this seems crazy. I feel like my knowledge of Magic, I think you've like showed me stuff before that you can draw cards, but like it's either like tied on something else or you have to pay like not one to do it. That seems crazy. That seems really good. Anyone would play this if they had it. Like, why would you play anything that's not blue if this card exists? Because this is probably like one of the best cards in the game. Surely this is Power 9. This is like in the classification of the other cards. Like also it's interesting if I'm thinking that a lot of these cards are blue. I don't know if that's like a coincidence or not, but it's like the Lotus, the Time Walk, and the Time Twister, the only 3 I've seen so far, and 2 of the 3 are blue. And technically the Lotus is blue by like proxy. So I don't know if that's like if they're like meant to all be blue cards, if that's just a coincidence. I am going to say, yeah, I think this is powered. This seems cracked.
Yeah, it's pretty cracked. It's Power 9. I wasn't expecting to fool you very much on Ancestral freaking Recall.
Yeah.
This is my favorite card in the game. I'm wearing a shirt right now that has Ancestral Recall art on it.
That's fun.
Absolutely. Love this card. It's banned in everything. It was not reprinted. It is Power 9. It is reserve list. So, what are the lunatics willing to pay for a moderately played Ancestral Recall?
God. I feel like I don't know anymore. I feel like it's just every time I think, well, that's not true. I know the Raging River, evidently.
You nailed
I won
it.
with the river.
You
Magic, make
mastered
the
that
card
shit.
one with the river and put me on it. Okay, if the Time Twister was like $4,000, but that was playable, it's banned in everything. You can't play this anywhere, right?
Vintage, that mythical format that we've mentioned a few times, it's restricted to 1 copy.
So you can play it in Vintage, though. You can also play Time Vault in Vintage, you said, too, right?
Yep, all of these are legal in Vintage.
Okay, so the Time Vault was like 800. But they're restricted, so you can only play 1. Okay, so I'm going to use Time Vault, I guess, as my... Well, no, but Time Vault wasn't Power 9. So does the Power 9 tag affect the value of this card? Probably. Because it's Power 9, it's probably worth more than Time Vault. Mod play, it's unlimited. I'm going to say... unlimited, $1,500.
$1,500?
$1,500.
If you double it, you're there. It's
great.
$2,995 for... So, have you cast many pots of greed?
Plenty. Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything better than just drawing new cards?
But, okay, the thing is, Pot of Greed in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not worth $3,000, even for the original copies.
I know,
like,
but there's only
cards.
one.
I get it.
There's only one card out there that for 1 mana gives you 3 new cards,
I guess
baby.
that's true.
It's Ancestral Recall.
Fair.
My goodness. And not only that, back in the day, you could play this, get into Time Twister loops where you're casting Time Twister over and over and reshuffling until you have like endless like mana through other things I won't get into, and your win con can be to Ancestral Recall your opponent.
Oh, you can deck them. That's funny.
Until they're out of cards.
That's funny. I feel like it's so tough because you're saying this is like the if we were doing like alpha, or like, yeah, probably alpha, I feel like I would have like gone that high, but I feel like because you're saying it's like unlimited, like there's other printings of this, and I feel like
that's the cheap
like the
one.
alpha printing's probably like, you know, like 10 plus grand at that point.
You want to take a shot at the alpha? See if this helps.
Sure.
You want to take a shot? You want to say 20 grand for alpha?
Sure. Yeah, indulge me.
Actually, 10,999. You were halfway there.
Yeah.
I'm halfway there. Yeah, alpha, like it's so hard to find like clean alpha cards.
Of course.
And then the range is basically, can you find like how good is it? So like that was moderately played. Like a lightly played alpha is 22,000.
Wow.
Right? And then the next mission is finding who will pay it and how much they will pay.
Yep.
I'm sure that Black Lotus kind of changed everything with how you sell like a near mint alpha card.
Yep. Wild. Crazy.
All right, we've got 4 members of the Power 9 solved. Do you feel like you got a handle on the Power 9 completely?
No. I don't. Especially prices. No. I think the cards I'm getting a bit better, but the cards I'm getting a bit better at evaluating, but the prices I feel like I'm getting worse actually. All right, Soul Ring. This is a 1-mana artifact. I'm assuming that is tap. It's like angled T. Add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. This ability is played as an interrupt. So I have a bit of insight on this because I'm pretty sure this is a commander card. This looks very familiar. Which means I don't think this would be in the Power 9. But Time Twister is legal in Commander. No, I don't think these are in the same classification of card. Yeah, I don't think this is Power 9. I'd be shocked.
Final answer?
Yeah, final answer. I think like I said, I'd be genuinely shocked if this was. Like, it's good. I'm not saying this card's bad at all. This card's crazy. I don't know if this is like legal anywhere else, but it's we talk about free. Free is good, and that's what this card is, and that's probably why people in Commander like it. But I'm pretty sure I've seen this in Commander before, so I think I have like some knowledge to like help me out with this one. I don't think this is Power 9. I doubt it.
I fucked up really bad. I sent you the revised art, not the unlimited art. So the tap symbol gives it away all on its own.
Well, to be fair, not like I would have known that. So
I'm surprised. I have shown Soul Ring to a good amount of people, and a lot of them think it should be Power 9. And it is like the best card in Commander. It is famously the best card in Commander.
And I get it because it's like the Lotus every single turn, assuming you're not fully the Lotus, but I mean, you're essentially getting 2 extra free mana to work with every single turn, which is like a huge skip. But I don't know. It's not the Lotus. It's not the Lotus. That's crazy. I didn't realize this card was this old.
Yeah, it goes back to the very, 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 very beginning. An unlimited Soul Ring. It's also now like so ubiquitous with Commander that they reprint it for literally every Commander product that they release. So what do you think an unlimited Soul Ring? And since I shared all this, let's go with a different condition because, you don't have to like go heavily played and stuff. What do you think? Let's see. We got near mint.
I guess it depends if people care about having like the OG Soul Ring. Right? Because if there's so many different printings of this card, like maybe there's a cooler one that people like. But I mean, the OG is still the OG.
Indeed. Yeah, let's go with the near mint Soul Ring. Let's go with the near mint unlimited Soul Ring that there are. Yep, unlimited. Yep.
All right. Well, if I've learned anything about Commander players, is that they're ridiculous. It's not Power 9 though. There's plenty of printings of this card. I think there are probably a group of people who value having the original version of this card, just because that's how just some people are. Near mint unlimited. I don't think it's 4 figures. That seems like a lot, but I've been surprised by some of these other cards. I can see it being like a few $100 maybe. Like I can see it like $250, $300 in that range. Even that sounds kind of like a lot. I don't know. It's tough. It really just depends if there's enough people that care about having the original version over like something else. I'll go with $250. Why not?
They just made it too many times. It's $102.71.
That makes sense, though. If there's so many copies of it, like that's what happens with a lot of the old Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They reprint them so much that the originals, some of them are worth a lot of money. Not like this kind of money, but
best card in Commander. Yeah. Most played card in Commander, actually, outside of like the basic lands.
You feel like it should be banned if it's the most played card in Commander?
I mean, that is a whole discussion of its own. At this point, I think that's never going to happen because, like I said, literally every Commander product that Wizards has released has Soul Ring.
Sure.
So it's kind of, that ship feels like it's sailed, but I look forward to the day we can talk about the Commander ban list. It's one of my favorite things to do. Let me know in the comments if you're itching for that video.
Well, based how well this is going, I'm sure that'll be a fantastic one as well.
You don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing all right. You're not getting bamboozled by many imposters on the Power 9. All right. Here's another one.
Oh, here's the necklace. Okay. Mox Ruby. It costs 0, which is always great in your game. Mono artifact. Add a red mana to your mana pool. Tapping this artifact can be played as an interrupt. So this is Black Lotus Light, essentially. But what's cool about this, I think, if I'm correct, scrolling back up to the Black Lotus. Yes, the Black Lotus sacrifices itself, or it says it's discarded, which is weird wording considering it's not in your hand. Where this stays on the field, because this is an artifact. So essentially, this is for 0, it's free. We love free. You play this, and it's like you get an extra mana to use every turn. So you go like play this, play land. That's like 2 mana to work with. And then if you if you could play multiple of these, that's even crazier. And it's colored specifically, which I felt like was an issue with like Channel, even though Channel's still broken. Yeah, just because I'm pretty sure this is the necklace, unless you found another necklace to like completely mess with me. This seems cracked. This seems very good, especially because it stays around. This seems ridiculous. Mana cheating's good. We're all for it. So I do think this is Power 9.
How about this one? Does this seem... What if there were more necklaces?
Oh my god. Mox Emerald. Oh, so it's the same thing, but it's green. Could they both be Power 9? It seems really good. Also, not for nothing, the background on Mox Ruby looks like an acid trip. I don't know what is going on. Like, the Mox Emerald is very elegant looking, like this. I don't know what they were doing with the Mox Ruby background. That's weird. I guess these could... I do remember a neck, but these are like both necklaces. Maybe they're both? These both seem insane. These both seem like, just by Magic standards, I feel like if this was legal, everyone would play this. Like, unless you don't play the color, I don't see why you wouldn't play this.
What if there was another one?
Oh my god. Do they just have it for every color? I'm assuming you showed me 2 of the 3, or 3 of the 5, or 3 of the 5.
And another one.
Oh my god.
And another one. Yeah, well, Mox Jet, Mox Pearl, Mox Sapphire.
Well, you said this is the Power 9, and we only covered 4 cards. So if all 5 of these are Power 9, that would get us to 9, which might be exactly why you did this. Surely these are.
Yeah,
surely.
Weird.
Yeah.
How would a content creator do this?
Never. You never structure the video in such a way. Never. Yeah, these seem cracked. These have to be it.
Yeah. The Moxes are the other 5 members of the Power 9, which is an interesting video conundrum for which one to show you and how to like try to play with it. So I figured
you did it in a fun way. I give you credit for that. That was
we'll
fun.
just roll it out at the end. Especially when you said there was something about a necklace. I'm like, well, there's not a single one of these I can pretend isn't a necklace. So I was pretty sure you were going to nail that. These are the other 5 members of the Power 9. Now, these are not reprinted. These are banned in everything but Vintage, where they are restricted.
Of course.
What do you think? Let's go with... Yeah, I mean, you definitely picked up. The only colored cards in the Power 9 are blue. There's 3 blue cards, and there's 6 artifacts. So, let's talk about Mox Sapphire, because blue is near and dear to my heart. That's the one that makes the most relevant color of mana.
Never.
Yep. It makes the most relevant color of mana for these purposes. What do you think a Mox Sapphire sells for?
It has to be the most expensive. Because the other 3 in the Power 9... 3, yeah. I was going to say 4. The other 3 in the Power 9 are also blue. This has to be. Especially if you're playing that old format, if anyone actually does. Like, you need this. You'd 100% need this card. So this has to fetch the premium of the 4, or of the 5. Oh, man. This isn't in Lotus tier, obviously, but it's got to be above, like, some of these other ones, surely. Okay, where were we at? Time Twister was like $4,000 or something, maybe like 4,500, something like that.
Yep, that's the one that's legal in Commander.
It's got to be more than that. I feel like it's more than that, but less than a Lotus. So this has, but how crazy are the Commander players? Because that card is playable, but I think, especially because it's like, you just play this in everything, right? Like, this is such a good card. It's like, the art's really nice, too. It's just like, everything about this card just screams money to me.
I will also just share, like, in the day when you played with Moxes, it didn't matter if you played the colors or not. Just free.
It's free mana, yeah.
Like, you can use mana.
It as, yeah.
It's a land you don't have to wait till next turn to play when you have another land. Yeah.
And then if you get Armageddon, you have all these Moxes still, so you can still play the game.
Now you understand why they thought Armageddon was fine.
I get it. Okay,
Armageddon was fine.
I think we said the Lotus was 11.5. I think this is close.
Yep.
I don't think it surpasses it, obviously. I'm going to say Mox Sapphire, medium play, unlimited. Oh, man. $8,500.
$8,500.
$8,500.
I have a Mox Sapphire over here.
Do you? That's cool.
Yeah. I do. Would you pay me $8,500 for it right now? So this is we're gonna hit you with you're gonna realize the Commander players, because that is really the only difference. Like when you're looking at Power 9, the same number were basically printed. The power level is, of course, absolutely busted in half. They're no longer being reprinted anymore. Like, Lotus is the big shiny that, I don't know, it's like the signature card. Something has to be the card. It's Black Lotus for Magic the Gathering. Then Time Twister comes along. It's the only member of the Power 9 still playable. It gets like the 4,300 premium, something like that. And then you have great cards like Ancestral Recall and Time Walk hanging around $3,000 to $3,300. And Mox Sapphire is going to settle right in there with them at $3,290.
Wow. I can't believe it's like at that level. It just seems like because everyone would just play this. It just seems like
you're right.
Would be more.
Do you want to talk about an alpha one? Let's see. Do we have any listings for alpha? Moderately played alpha. 5.5 grade.
Okay. What is a 5.5 grade? Is that like light play?
Let me see.
That might be mod play, actually.
I
forget the scale.
I'm not sure, but I can show you a picture.
Sure, show me a picture. Indulge me.
It's fun. We like pictures.
It's a 5.5. Oh, that has been loved dearly.
Loved, yes.
That has been loved dearly. Oh, man, look at that edge wear. That actually doesn't look that bad, all things considered. It actually still seems pretty good. Oh, man. Alpha? Oh, geez. This is going to be insane money. Like, this is 5.5. Like,
yeah, believe it or not, it's the best one I could find on here.
I'm gonna go 30 grand.
30 grand.
30 grand.
It's actually 17,995. 18 grand. Yeah, yeah. It's not as crazy as I expected.
Yeah.
It's honestly not as crazy as I expected.
I could probably pay for it. you know?
No. Hell no. No. It was. Do you know how much ad revenue it was to get my unlimited Mox Sapphire? I was so excited.
It's probably your whole YouTube channel. Yeah.
Dude, it was my Christmas present to myself.
After how many years?
Yeah. Oh my God. So it's actually a fun story because before I was a content creator, I ran a different kind of business, and that business failed, and it left me in a tremendous amount of debt, of bad business debt. And I used YouTube and content creation, basically hustled my ass off all through the pandemic and then some. And it was my gift to myself after I paid off like all of my debt.
That's a cool story, though. That's awesome.
Yep. I basically said I can't have, because I had these cards when I was young and I sold them to go to college for absurdly low prices that make me cry. Yeah. And I've been slowly buying them back now that I've gotten myself out of a terrible situation. So,
are all the Moxes,
it's meaningful to me.
Are all the Moxes like in the tier of Sapphire? So they're all like around the like $2,000 to $3,000 mark then?
Yeah. Great question. Let's pick one and pull it up really quick.
Sure.
Let's go with Mox Emerald, often green back in the day. Not a very exciting color, often considered to be one of the weaker ones, if going by just generic stats. And we're looking at moderately played, lowest I can find, 2,500.
Okay. For one of the weaker ones. Makes sense.
Yep. So they're in that range actually, and they have settled down quite a bit. I think if I looked at like the price data, it settled down quite a bit since COVID. Like COVID was peak card game collector psychosis. It felt like.
Man, your game has some whales. If I've learned anything from this video, and also apparently Commander players are out of their minds.
I will, if there is something you should take away from this video besides now knowing what the Power 9 are. Commander players are, in fact, out of their minds.